If I asked you, what's the one thing that's gonna make or break NBA 2K22? What would you say? Comment it down below right now. And I'm talking about you as an individual. What is gonna determine whether you play the game? What's gonna determine if you buy the game? What's gonna determine if you enjoy the game? But the fate of NBA 2K22 is in jeopardy. I don't know if you guys saw it. There's a lot of news going around about current gen, next gen, both games dropping on the same day. We got a cruise ship on one game. We got the city on the other game. There's a whole bunch of news. I'm not going to go over it like crazy right now. You guys have probably seen videos or read about it yourself maybe. I just want to talk about what all this news means and why the fate of the game is literally in jeopardy right now. So I'm not going to waste any time. We're going to jump right into it, but I'm not going to make y'all just watch me walk around the park, man. Y'all want to watch current gen gameplay, next gen gameplay, or 2K17 gameplay? I figured y'all would say 2K17 gameplay. All right, so enjoy the gameplay while y'all watch the video, and let me explain what in the hell I'm talking about. So if you guys have been paying attention to the 2K news, you guys would have saw they're talking about there's an all new neighborhood, meaning for current gen, we're going to be on a cruise ship now. For next gen, there's going to be an all new city. We don't really know any details that much, but there's going to be a brand new city for next gen. So like always, there's a lot of excitement around the 2K news. Everyone's ready to move on from 21 and hopefully a brand new, fresh, exciting, fun start on 2K22. Now this news is exciting. It shows that they're listening, they're trying to be innovative, they're trying to put new things into the game, which is all great news. And I'll give credit where credit is due. The devs have been much more active on Twitter recently. They have been responding to not only content creators, but to just, you know, the typical 2K player who's on Twitter trying to give feedback, trying to ask questions. We've seen Ronnie, we've seen Mitchell, we've seen Mike Wang, we've seen other devs all responding to people much more frequently than they have in the past. So we have to give credit where credit is due. That is a great sign. We asked them to listen and they are trying to listen. But here's where the fate of the game is on the line. And I mentioned this in my last video. If you guys didn't watch, this was all about the 2K22 My Player Builder. Definitely go check that video out because we're not going to touch on all the points, but this one carries over into the game as a whole. It will always come down to the execution. We can give the ideas, they can listen to the ideas, but can they put it in to the game in a way that's not only balanced, but fun, refreshing, and just provides a great gaming experience? It will come down to execution. A perfect example is the next gen My Player Builder. Everyone wanted complete freedom to do what they wanted with their builds. We want to make demigods. I want to make Kevin Durant. I want to make Giannis. I want to make LeBron. They gave us that. I don't think the idea of the next gen builder was a bad idea, but it was executed so poorly. We saw what it did to next gen. Every single person running around the park with the same 6'7" power forward build, because if you weren't on that build, you were at a huge disadvantage. A good idea with poor execution ruins the game. So this leads us to the question, how can we avoid the mistakes? How can we avoid a good idea being ruined by poor execution? Well, it's the same thing I talked about in my last video, specifically about the builder, but it applies to the bigger picture here. Can we bring in some game testers that are actually 2K players? Whether it's content creators or 2K League players, people that actually play 2K damn near every day. Guys that are on the game for a couple hours or maybe even longer than that. You know, guys that actually are invested into the game. Not just a typical video game tester. A guy that one day he tests Call of Duty, one day he tests a different game, then he comes in, tests 2K, then he tests WWE. No. Can we find people that actually play the game? Because those are the people that are going to find the flaws. Whether it's gameplay, build systems, just like if you were running a big business, right? You're a big company and you want to market to a specific group of people. You're going to bring in someone who is a marketing specialist. Do the same here. We want to make sure the dribbling in the game is fun and creative and unique and free-flowing. Bring in Steezo, bring in statistics, bring in all the dribble heads to actually test it. They will give you feedback that will be infinitely more valuable than any game tester that comes in. Bring in, for the build systems, bring in guys like myself, Dignify Uncle Demi, guys that live in the builder and love creating builds. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Bring in people, not only 2K players, but specific 2K players to test specific pieces of the game. The feedback these devs would get would be invaluable to creating a good game. It would be unbelievable how much feedback we could give them before the game even comes out. All the problems, all the patches we're asking for in the first month of the game could be completely avoided if we just bring in the right people to test the game. Now, again, I have to give credit where credit is due, because right now there really isn't a good way, there isn't a good line of communication between content creators and developers. Content creators a lot of times represent the community in terms of, what the community wants. Of course, we don't always all agree on the same things, but for the most part, a lot of times content creators are in the know. They know what's going on in the community and what people want. And right now the line of communication just isn't there, but they are working towards fixing that. For example, one of the game devs the other day put out a tweet and basically said, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Let's show you later in the summer. 2K creators, what are you hyped for? What are you concerned about? And I said, listen, I'm worried about the builder. In order for Park to flourish, it has to be up to par. He responded and said, can you elaborate more on what you mean by up to par? Basically, I said, listen, it's Twitter. I can only, 140 character limit. I would love to jump on a call. And he said, let's definitely set that up. And he added one of the other developers. So they are working towards trying to get a better feel for what the community wants and open up those lines of communication with the community, with the content creators to try to make the games as good as possible. I think it took a little bit too long to try to get these lines of communication set up, honestly, but they are working towards it. So let's give them a little bit of credit where credit is due. But let's face it, no matter how good the ideas are and how good the execution is, there will be problems. Just like in any game. Let's not pretend that 2K is the only game with problems. Every game has problems. The difference is many good games out there, they fix the problems very quickly. With 2K, we've seen in the past, example, 2K19, there's pushing in the park. We had to wait 6, 7, 8 months for them to patch pushing. That should not take as long as it did, and there's plenty of other examples. Sometimes it doesn't get fixed. Think about 2K20. There was a dribble glitch in 2K20 where you literally could not get the ball stolen from you, and you would just go between your legs, up the court. You could go all the way into the paint. You could just completely move defenders out of the way. They would just slide out of the way because you could not get the ball stolen from you, and it never got fixed. It was in the game the entire year. So no matter how good the ideas are and how good the execution is, can we stay on top of things to the point where even when there's an issue, we're able to fix it relatively quickly to keep the game balanced and fun? Think about a shooter. When a shooter drops, if there's a gun or something that feels completely overpowered to the rest of it, they just tone it down. Now here's the issue. If it's a gameplay related thing, 2K can fix, for example, a dribble glitch. That's a pretty easy fix if they wanted to fix it. But here's the problem. If you mess up something like the builder, which again, I talked about in my last video, how can you change someone's build that they paid $50 to max out, right? You make your player, you want to upgrade it to 85 overall or whatever it allows you to in 2K22, you got to drop about $50 of VC to upgrade your player. Then 2 weeks later, they say, the builder was messed up. We're sorry. We're going to have to completely change the attributes you already paid to upgrade. You probably wouldn't have made that build and spent $50 on it if you knew you were getting different attributes or different badges or different capabilities. Y'all understand what I'm saying? That's where the problem comes in, and that's where the execution side of it and the game testing side of it is so important. Because if that builder is messed up, there's really nothing you can do once the game drops. We talked about it on Next Gen. People were talking about, well, what if they just reduce how many badges the power forward gets? But then you're changing people's builds that they spent money on. They put money to get that build that they created, and now you're changing it on them. You could probably, I don't think anyone would probably sue, but somebody would probably try to sue for fraud. Like, I paid $50 for a product and then you change the product 2 weeks later that I already paid for. Y'all get what I'm saying. It's a little shady area. I mean, maybe suing them is taking it a little bit too far, but it's still not going to make the community happy is what I'm saying. It's going to be real interesting to see how 2K22 turns out. You got two different games dropping on the same day. The amount of feedback, the amount of complaints that are going to be sent into 2K for them to be able to sort through everything and weed out the people that are just frustrated because they suck and actually get to the core of the game and see, you know, what actually needs to be fixed. It's not going to be an easy task. With one game, it's never easy. Never mind 2 games with 2 separate communities. It's going to be a very interesting year. I'm trying to keep a realistic mindset going into 22. Of course, all the news, all the hype around the game is exciting. It's an exciting time. A new 2K is coming. We can finally put 21 in the past and we're moving on to 22. Hopefully 22 is the game that we not only want, but the game we need and the game we deserve at this point as a community. 21 was a tough year for 2K players, for 2K content creators, 2K streamers. It was a tough year. But the dark times are behind us. We're moving on. We got 2K22 on the horizon. Hopefully this video, the ideas, the things that I brought up, hopefully they find the right set of ears and we can move forward in the right direction, test the game properly, execute the ideas properly, make quick, efficient patches when things are broken. If we can do these things, then I think 22 will be a great year. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the video. If you guys are new, make sure you subscribe. Make sure y'all drop a like before y'all leave. Appreciate y'all watching. I'll talk to y'all in the next video. I'm out. Peace.